What is going on YouTube? Dylan Pearson here. Today I have a complete breakdown. It's going to be essentially a free mini course on exactly how I did $189,000 in just 30 days during Q4. So there's a lot of information in here I'm excited to share with you. I think this is going to bring a lot of clarity to the fact that a lot of people complexify, is that a word? I don't know. Make the process of building a brand like this much more difficult than it actually needs to be. So the core concepts that I'm going to teach you throughout this mini course should be able to be applied to your ad account, to your Shopify store today to help you generate results similar to what you're seeing on the screen right now. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the breakdown of the course and show you how I did $189,000 in just 30 days. So the first step to all of this is obviously related to the selection of a product. Without a product, I would have nothing to sell. And with a bad product, my margins wouldn't be good enough. I'd have a lot of returns, a lot of chargebacks, and just a lot of general issues, bad shipping times, etc. So it comes down to selecting a product with a good supplier. And this is the three biggest criteria that my specific product had. So the first criteria that my product has was it hit the like button on this video. Very important step. Don't forget to hit that like button if you want to find a great product. Okay, but seriously, the first criteria to my product selection phase is looking at the marketing angles of the product itself. I know this is a weird aspect to look at when selecting a product. A lot of people will tell you to look at margins, look at demand, and obviously those are important factors. But when I'm looking for a product that I know has the ability to scale, I'm looking at marketing angles. And I want my product to have greater or equal to 4 marketing angles. So what are some examples of this? Here we have it's called Steez Energy. It's an all-natural energy drink from green tea and yerba mate. So this is a great example of something that has at least 4 marketing angles. I can advertise this to athletes, people looking for a boost in their athletic performance. I can advertise this to software developers, people looking for focused in office workers, etc. I could hit the alternative wellness demographic, or interest demographic, I should say, just because it's all natural energy. There's no artificial preservatives in here, and that's a big selling point. That's another marketing angle. So I'm having trouble thinking of a 4th marketing angle for this. I'm sure you guys have probably already thought of a 4th one before I even came up with one, but really their pitch is feel for the mind, body, and soul. So people wanting that mind focus, they want to improve their body image, their body health, and then just the soul, just all natural. So, you know, this one really has 3 defined marketing angles. I'm sure I could think of a 4th if I sat here long enough, but that's what I'm looking for when it comes to my product. I want at least 4 marketing angles. The reason being is when an audience becomes saturated or fatigued, I can easily change my marketing and my creatives around to hit a completely new demographic and essentially refresh my audiences and go back to scaling and generating high profit margins. Next, this is a big one. I need my profit margin to be at least $40. I know that sounds like a lot when it comes to dropshipping, but that's where the sweet spot is right now. I'm seeing that it's very difficult to get below $20 cost per purchases with Facebook ads. Obviously, if you have a super cheap product, you are going to see low cost per purchases, but I'm just talking about the general average product price of like $30 to $40 that a lot of people sell in, and that really shrinks your profit margin. So when I have a profit margin of $40, I have a product that's maybe costing $18 and I'm selling for $60. That leaves me with $40 to acquire a new customer. And most likely that type of customer is going to order more than one and really drive up those profit margins. So having at least a $40 profit margin is very important to obviously generating profit, but also allowing you to scale and outscale competition just solely based on the fact that you can outspend them. So I need at least a $40 profit margin when it comes to my product. And then finally, the third biggest aspect to my product selection in this specific scenario was, is it in demand? So everyone that's probably watching this video understands how to check demand through Google Trends, through analyzing the engagement on Facebook ads or Instagram ads that you have seen for a specific product using AdSpy, DropPoint, etc. And if you are one of the few people that are kind of confused when I'm speaking of in-demand products, I have a full breakdown tutorial specifically how to do that type of product research and check if it's in demand, and I will link that for you down in the description. But those are the three main criteria that really built this product, and these are the three main criteria that I guarantee my product meets prior to actually launching a brand. And this is what I see working at high scale. So this is how I go about selecting my product. So you've got a product, you've got your store built. Now it's time to produce your first creative. When it comes to building a winning creative, there's another big aspect that you need to do, and that is hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell before doing anything else. But seriously, I have another full building a winning creative breakdown, like 40-minute in-depth tutorial. So I'll link that down in the description if you want specific step-by-step process. But I'm gonna explain how I built the winning creative, the first creative I should say, for this specific product. So it starts with a 3 to 5 second scroll stopper. This is huge. Obviously, we all know the importance of scroll stoppers. When people are scrolling on their Instagram or their Facebook newsfeed, they don't want to be prevented from their family and friends' posts with sponsored ads. So it's very important to grab their attention quickly. And I usually do this with a 3 to 5 second clip that just wows them or makes them feel some sort of emotion, whether it's happy, sad, upset, etc. It's very important to draw some sort of emotion out of your potential customer or that viewer within 3 to 5 seconds to engage them for the remainder of your video creative. Next, I've been utilizing a story format. So I go into a 15 to 30 second clip progression of a story. So when it comes to storytelling, you can look at news articles, you can look at ESPN, you can look at any type of entertainment that's produced. And what you're going to start to see is a lot of these video creatives or even just blog posts utilize a storytelling format. So what they'll do, and what I specifically do here, is I stop them with my scroll stopper, then I utilize that product within a story. I usually take about 15 to 30 seconds to really just entertain and inform the user in a non-salesy way. What this allows me to do is generate organic virality. When someone's watching this ad of mine, even if they're not necessarily interested in buying anything at that time, they'll still find this story entertaining and want to tag friends and family, which those people that they just tagged could end up buying my product. They might share it once again, and it's just organic reach that I don't have to pay for. So by utilizing a storytelling format, not only does it come off as a non-salesy video ad, but it also allows me to reach more people for lower costs. I was getting $7 to $8 CPMs during Black Friday utilizing the storytelling format. Once they've engaged with the story, I then go into a more product specific benefit clip progression. So once again, to lay it all out, it goes scroll stopper, storytelling format, and then into a benefit clip progression where I focus on explaining the immediate benefits that the user is gonna get in their life once they purchase this product. I spend about 15 seconds on this benefit clip progression, and then I move into a 5 to 10 second call to action. And the call to action is very simple, straightforward. It tells them what to click and where they can click it. So if I want them to click the Shop Now button, I say click the Shop Now button located, and then I'll put an arrow down or tell them where it's located on their screen at that time. An important aspect of this video creative creation is ensuring it stays under 60 seconds so it can be utilized within the Instagram newsfeed. That is how I produced the initial creative for this company that I scaled to $189,000 in 30 days. Now it's time to take you into the Facebook ad side of things. So you have your product, you have your first initial creative ready to go, so it's time to launch it. This is how I go about testing. So I use what I call cost-efficient audience testing. When I'm testing a new store and a new product, I want to do it as cheaply and as quickly as possible to see what I need to improve to make this work and start turning a profit. I'm going to give you a good overview here of how this process works, but once again, as always, I already have a complete in-depth tutorial breakdown of this process, and I will link that down in the description for you. So when it comes to testing with Facebook ads, this is how I perform cost-efficient audience testing. I use a CBO campaign. I set the budget of $10 times the number of ad sets. I set the minimum spend at the ad set level of around $7 per ad set. And then I utilize the initiated checkout objective. And that's where some people get confused, and that's where you should really go watch the in-depth breakdown of cost-efficient audience testing if you want to learn why I specifically do that. Now that I have my campaign set up, I usually launch with around 7 to 10 different interests for all of those different marketing angles that I talked about earlier. So list out your marketing angles and think of different interests that you can target and build out those in single interest ad sets within the CBO campaign. Let the campaign run, and once an ad set reaches about 1,500 impressions, pause it. If your cost per initiated checkout is about half of your target cost per purchase and your click-through rate is above 5%, it's time to move that ad set into a purchase objective campaign, which I'll talk about here in this next phase. This testing method has worked wonders for me in the past few months. It's allowed me to launch multiple new products at a really cost-efficient level. And I see a lot of people teaching use the purchase objective from the get-go. And yeah, that might get you a couple purchases, but it's not going to allow you to test quickly and efficiently, which is what this will allow you to do. So once I've identified some ad sets and interests that perform well with this testing setup, I duplicate this over to a CBO purchase objective campaign. The budget is about $25 times the number of ad sets, and I don't utilize a minimum spend at this phase. Once again, I let ad sets run for about 1,500 to 2,000 impressions, analyze the results, and see what's working and see what's not working. So this leads me into the next step. A lot of you might be wondering, when do I start scaling audiences if they perform well? It's not at this phase. So before doing any sort of scaling or launching of new ad sets, I'm going to optimize the creative that I built in the previous phase. Although I wasn't profitable yet, I knew that this product and my ads had a lot of potential based on my click-through rates, my CPMs, and my cost per initiated checkout. I then took my best audience at the time, and even if you don't have purchases, you can look at those analytics I just mentioned to decide what is your best potential audience. I use that and I run dynamic creative testing. Once again, I have a video linked in the description. And basically, I created dynamic creative with a variety of different copy, headline, scroll stoppers, and actual video creatives itself. Let that run against that my best performing audience at this phase, and then analyze which aspects of that dynamic creative perform the best. Build out a new non-dynamic creative with those aspects and relaunch that within those testing campaigns to see how the new creative performs against that baseline. This is incredibly important and something I don't see enough people doing. A lot of people will launch one creative, and if it doesn't work right away, they give up thinking it's the product. In reality, it is most likely your creative. So if you can find an audience that performs decently well, you can make marginal improvements by utilizing that audience, even if you're not generating purchases just yet. Begin optimizing your creative as soon as possible and continuously re-optimize it throughout scaling and throughout the journey of the brand that you're launching. With this specific product, I had around 5 winning creatives running at scale, and in my retargeting campaigns, I had around 12 creatives. So all of them were optimized. I ran them all through dynamic creative testing, and that is how I produced the best possible creative I could run. You've got an optimized creative, you have some audiences that are performing well with the purchase objective. Now it's time to put some money behind those ad sets and really generate some profit. Before bumping up the budgets to $100 to $200 per day and really trying to scale it, you need to verify and quality assurance test these audiences to ensure that they're going to perform at scale just as well as they perform at low budgets. A lot of people will launch an ad set at $10, $15 per day, see really good, generally consistent results. At least, it'll turn a $20 to $30 profit per day. But as soon as they put money behind it, it flops. And this is how I prevent that. I first increase my daily CBO budget to $50 times the number of ad sets. I let that campaign run for 2 to 3 days. And if the ROAS of an ad set is negative after those 2 to 3 days, I shut it off and I go back to launching new audiences within the cost-efficient audience testing campaign. I love to utilize audience insights. Audience insights is a tremendously powerful tool. You can take audiences that show potential, drop them in there, and find high affinity audiences to test against. This is how I've continuously launched over probably 30 different interests at scale and just let them run in one CBO campaign to generate really good profit margins. For the audiences in the ad sets that do perform at this phase, now they are ready to scale. And that is the next phase of this mini course breakdown. I do have some verification phase tips though that I want to share with you. Number 1, you should not take a Facebook campaign from testing immediately to scaling. That is a great way to see inconsistency and ultimately lose money. It's going to be very depressing when you see something performing at low level scale in the testing phase and then up the budget and see your money go down the drain. So utilize this quality assurance phase to ensure that your money is being put behind ad sets that will most likely perform for you at scale. The next verification tip that I want to share with you, some audiences will not work right when you launch, but will become very profitable later on. A lot of the interests in audiences, even lookalikes that I launched at the initial really launch of my brand, they didn't perform. I would spend $200 and generate one sale, etc. Just horrible results. But once I reached a pixel optimized state, I relaunched those, and now they're some of my best performing ad sets and audiences. So don't give up on something. Just consistently find new audiences to test with audience insights, launch those, collect data, and repeat that process until the point that you're generating a profit, and then relaunch the ones that didn't perform. And you're gonna see some really good results. Now we're at the phase that everyone is looking forward to. This is really where you start to see the profits coming in, and this is scaling. I do scaling a bit differently than everyone else. I fully automate my scaling. This allows me to make marginal increases in my daily CBO budgets without resetting learning phases. It prevents mistakes that, human error, just general mistakes that you can make that really can be detrimental to your success, and it makes things easier. So this is how I do it. When it comes to the audiences that I'm using to scale, I'm using lookalike audiences and interests that are greater than 10 million people. There's always exceptions. I do have some smaller interests and smaller lookalikes in my ad account that were very profitable, but they do quickly become fatigued, so you have to constantly refresh creatives. The way that I get around this is I use lookalike audiences from 1% all the way to 10%. So I'm not doing incremental breakdowns of 1% to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, etc. I just do one lookalike, 1 to 10% per lookalike source audience. So if I was using the 95% video viewers, it'd just be a 1% to 10% USA, probably have around 23 million people, and I will launch it. This prevents audience fatigue, and it allows you to scale at higher budgets. You are going to be hitting a broader audience. You're going to see really good CPMs, and if you have an optimized creative, optimized landing page, you shouldn't have an issue with this. And this is where you really start to see those high budget and high revenue days. I then use the Facebook automated rules to increase my daily CBO budgets by 30% every day at 6 a.m. if the ROAS is above a 2.5. It's really important to learn how to automate your scaling with built-in Facebook automations. It's going to make your life easier, prevent errors, and allow you to do those marginal increases. Finally, the biggest aspect to a profitable scale is having multiple creatives ready on deck to prevent audience fatigue. When you're spending thousands of dollars per day, hitting millions of people per day, you will fatigue your audiences. And the way to prevent this is just by refreshing your ad sets with a new winning creative. So at a given time, I prefer to have at least 3 and no greater than 4 winning creatives in every single ad set. So Facebook has the optimal amount of opportunities to convert a viewer into a customer. I get a lot of questions saying, hey Dylan, do you drop it in? Do you duplicate your ad set, then use the new creative in there? I simply just duplicate my creative already running, use the post ID of the new one, and then let it run. And I do let the old one continue to run. A lot of times you'll see the ROAS of the old creative go back up at least to break even, a little bit profitable, and I'll let those run together. Overall, that sums up the breakdown of exactly how I did around $190,000 in 30 days. It's exciting when you're doing this level of scale, and I really wanted to show you with this mini course breakdown is that the concepts that you're using at the start are still going to be applied at the level of scale that this brand was at. There's no reason to add unnecessary complexity to your strategies and your creatives. Just see what is working during your testing phase and see what's not working and improve it. If you have low click-through rates, work on your creative. If you have high CPMs, work on your interest targeting. Just look at the data. The data can tell you everything you need to know. Don't think that it's an issue with your product right away. Really look at your creative with an honest and open mind. Try to put yourself in the customer's shoes. Look at your ad copy, look at your product copy, and break it down from there. Use the data, use these simple concepts that I just explained here, and you will find success If you have not joined up on the Facebook group, I highly recommend it. It's an active group of around 400 people, and we're constantly sharing value, answering questions, and there's really no reason not to be in it. So I'll link that down in the description. Go join up today, and I will see you in there. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck to your e-commerce success in 2020. Shoot me a message on Instagram if you have any questions. My Instagram username is @DylanBusiness. Leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Anyways, once again, thank you, and I will see you in the next video.